So let's start with making a cardboard model of our nesting box before we get to working with timber. So the big thing with the modeling of our nesting box using cardboard is that you've got a range of scale options that you can work at. And they each have kind of pros and cons depending on your resources, your time, and the kind of skill levels of your students is going to determine what kind of scale you want to work at. So in this video, I'm working at a 1:4 scale, right? So that means that my cardboard model is 1/4 or a quarter of the size of my finished product. This is really, really good for really quick modeling, particularly of major shapes, all right, and kind of significant design features and sizing and shaping. You can also do this at 1:3 or 1:2 scale. So with those, all right, at 1:2, obviously you are using a lot more material, right? You're only half the size, so you're going to be a lot more material, but you get a lot more detail out of it, right? 1:30 is kind of that in between. So the way that I would kind of decide which one I might use is going to be based on what you really want the students to be getting out of it. Do you want them to be creating quick models where they are maybe testing different major design shapes and sizes, right? So you might do that earlier in the design process at a 1:4 or even maybe a 1:3. At a 1:4, you could maybe get kids to make 4 different little cardboard models of vastly different shapes and sizes that they're then comparing, right? And you would do that quite early in the process. At something like a 1:2 scale, you really only want your kids to be making one of those because that's quite a lot of material. It's going to take quite a lot of time, but you can do that with then your final design and have kids. It's really a great example and an opportunity for them to be testing that final design and maybe playing around with some of those small little design features, things like what kind of perch and what kind of shape you might want to use for that. You might get them to make some different options, but you really want that to be a full proper scale model of their final chosen design. So that would happen later in the piece. So you can see here with my quite small model, right? It's great for showing that general shape and structure, but not so much for the fine details. So that's the big thing with the modeling.